Today, we will talk about deciding what's right, a psychological approach. Chapter 2 delves into prescriptive ethical theories created by philosophers to guide individuals in addressing ethical dilemmas. This chapter highlights how psychology reveals that people may not always grasp the ethical aspects of a situation or approach them as expected. By exploring psychological factors such as individual differences and mental processes, it aims to shed light on how people truly think and act. Additionally, the chapter discusses obstacles that hinder individuals from making sound ethical choices and proposes strategies to surmount them. Moreover, it introduces recent neuroscience findings and studies on the impact of emotions on ethical decision-making. The relationship between ethical awareness, judgment, and action follows a sequential process where each component builds upon the previous one. Ethical awareness serves as the foundation, the recognition that a situation contains ethical dimensions requiring moral consideration. Without this initial awareness, individuals cannot proceed to ethical judgment, which involves evaluating the situation using moral reasoning frameworks to determine right from wrong. Finally, ethical action represents the implementation of decisions based on ethical judgment. This linear progression means that failure at any stage prevents progression to subsequent stages, making ethical awareness absolutely critical to the entire process. Ethical awareness is the crucial first step in ethical decision-making, involving the recognition that a situation has ethical implications. Many individuals overlook these dimensions, which can hinder sound decision-making processes. Neuroscience research indicates that different brain areas activate when people identify ethical issues compared to neutral scenarios, highlighting a distinct cognitive response to ethical concerns. Examples illustrate this concept, such as students who may unintentionally plagiarize by copying online content without considering intellectual property rights. Employees asked to forge signatures may not initially see the ethical implications of such requests, but training can enhance their awareness. Several factors influence ethical awareness. Peer influence is significant. Individuals are more likely to recognize ethical issues if they believe their colleagues view them as problematic. Additionally, the framing of situations, using ethical versus neutral language, affects perceptions. Situations with potential serious harm are also more likely to be recognized as ethical issues. Managers can promote ethical awareness through training and discussions about ethical dilemmas, encouraging the use of ethical language and consideration of consequences. It's important for individuals to remain vigilant against factors that may diminish their awareness, such as euphemistic language or perceived lack of consequences. Fostering ethical awareness is essential for effective ethical judgment and action. Once individuals recognize the ethical dimensions of a situation, they engage in ethical judgment processes that influence their conduct. Ethical judgment involves deciding what the right course of action is, and neuroscience research indicates that distinct brain regions activate during ethical decision-making, suggesting it is a unique cognitive process. The chapter further explores individual differences that affect ethical judgment and action. While situational factors, like peer influence and rewards, play a significant role, personal characteristics also shape how individuals respond to ethical dilemmas. These differences can illuminate why some people act ethically while others engage in unethical behaviors. Several individual characteristics influence ethical decision-making, including ethical decision-making style, cognitive moral development, locus of control, Machiavellianism, and moral disengagement. Forsyth's framework categorizes ethical decision-making styles based on idealism, which reflects concern for others, and relativism, which emphasizes situational ethics. Idealists tend to avoid harming others and are more likely to uphold ethical intentions, while those high in relativism may rationalize unethical behavior due to a lack of commitment to universal ethical principles. Understanding one's ethical decision-making style can enhance ethical behavior. Individuals can benefit from recognizing their preferences and considering multiple perspectives when facing ethical dilemmas. This awareness not only helps improve personal decision-making, but can also influence discussions and decisions within a group setting. Cognitive moral development. An important framework for understanding ethical judgment and action is Lawrence Kohlberg's moral reasoning theory. This cognitive developmental theory focuses on how individuals think about ethical dilemmas and make decisions about the right course of action. Kohlberg's research began with interviews of American boys, revealing that moral reasoning develops sequentially through 3 levels, each containing 2 stages. At the pre-conventional level stages 1 and 2, individuals are primarily self-centered. Stage 1 emphasizes obedience to authority to avoid punishment, while Stage 2 involves a focus on personal rewards and reciprocity. For instance, a person at Stage 1 might argue that Evelyn should not contradict her boss to avoid punishment, while someone at Stage 2 might feel obligated to support the boss due to past kindness. The conventional level stages 3 and 4 reflects a shift toward considering societal norms and expectations. Stage 3 individuals prioritize pleasing others and maintaining social approval, suggesting that Evelyn should not contradict her boss to avoid being perceived as disloyal. Stage 4 thinkers focus on fulfilling societal duties and laws, reasoning that Evelyn has a responsibility to report potential safety issues for the greater good. At the post-conventional level stages 5 and 6, individuals make decisions based on ethical principles of justice and rights. Stage 5 thinkers recognize the importance of laws, but are willing to question them if they conflict with moral principles. A Stage 5 response from Evelyn would prioritize consumer safety and ethical responsibilities over her boss's directive. Kohlberg emphasizes that the reasoning process is more important than the decision itself. Higher stages of moral reasoning are associated with more ethical decisions, as they align with principles of justice and rights. Understanding these stages helps explain the variability in ethical behavior among individuals, as personal development and reasoning processes influence their responses to ethical dilemmas. Okay, now the question we have is, why is cognitive moral development important? Cognitive moral development is important because it provides insights into how individuals reason about ethical dilemmas and make decisions regarding right and wrong. Understanding this development can help managers and organizations in several ways. 1. Guidance and influence. Most individuals in an organization look to their leaders for guidance on ethical behavior. By understanding cognitive moral development, managers can structure work environments that encourage ethical conduct. 2. Improved decision-making. Higher levels of moral reasoning are associated with more ethical decision-making consistent with principles of justice and rights. This can lead to better outcomes for organizations. 3. Empowering leaders. Individuals who have reached higher levels of moral reasoning should be placed in leadership positions, as their principled thinking can positively influence group decision-making and enhance the overall ethical climate of the organization. 4. Employee satisfaction. When employees' cognitive moral development is aligned with that of their leaders, it can lead to greater job satisfaction and commitment, fostering a healthier organizational environment. 5. Training and development. Understanding moral development allows for the implementation of training programs that can enhance moral reasoning and ethical behavior among employees, ultimately benefiting the organization as a whole. Overall, cognitive moral development plays a crucial role in shaping the ethical landscape of organizations and can significantly impact both individual and organizational outcomes. Locus of control is an individual characteristic that significantly influences ethical action. It refers to a person's perception of how much control they have over life events, ranging from a high internal locus of control, where individuals believe their efforts determine outcomes, to a high external locus of control, where they attribute results to fate, luck, or external forces. This characteristic develops over time through social interactions and experiences, becoming relatively stable. Individuals with a high internal locus of control are more likely to take responsibility for their actions and resist unethical pressures, while those with a high external locus may feel more compelled to comply with authority and external demands. Research indicates that people with an internal locus of control are better at recognizing the consequences of their behavior, making them more likely to act ethically. For example, studies have shown that these individuals are more inclined to help others, even when it involves personal risk. In scenarios where they face pressure to violate norms, those with a strong internal locus are more likely to resist such pressure. For managers, understanding the locus of control of employees can enhance their ability to guide ethical behavior. Employees with an external locus may blame external factors for failures, so managers can help them recognize the link between their actions and outcomes, potentially shifting their locus of control toward a more internal perspective over time. This shift can foster greater accountability and ethical behavior in the workplace. While an internal locus of control and principled thinking are linked to ethical behavior, Machiavellianism is associated with unethical actions. This personality trait, named after philosopher Niccolo Machiavelli, describes individuals who are self-interested, manipulative, and willing to deceive others to achieve their goals. Machiavelli famously suggested that the ends justify the means, advocating for pragmatic leadership that could involve unethical behavior. Research indicates that individuals high in Machiavellianism are more likely to have unethical intentions and engage in actions like lying, cheating, and accepting bribes. Managers should be vigilant for signs of Machiavellianism among employees, as such individuals can jeopardize the organization's integrity. Consequently, organizations might consider assessing Machiavellian traits alongside other personality characteristics during the hiring process. Moral disengagement refers to the mechanisms that allow individuals to engage in unethical behavior without feeling guilt. Most people behave ethically due to internalized standards, but some can deactivate this self-control through 8 specific mechanisms. These mechanisms fall into 3 categories. The first category involves ways of rationalizing bad behavior to make it seem acceptable. This includes euphemistic language and moral justification, where individuals believe that unethical actions are acceptable if they serve a socially valued outcome. For instance, Mortgage lenders may justify selling risky loans by believing they are helping people achieve homeownership. Another mechanism, advantageous comparison, involves comparing one's actions to more reprehensible behaviors to make them seem less severe. The second category distorts consequences or reduces personal responsibility. Displacement of responsibility allows individuals to blame authority figures for their actions, while diffusion of responsibility shifts accountability to a group, leading to phrases like, "It's not my job." Additionally, individuals might downplay negative consequences, thinking they are minor. The third category reduces empathy for victims through mechanisms like dehumanization, where individuals see those harmed as less worthy of ethical consideration, often labeling them as foolish or undeserving. Attribution of blame further diminishes accountability by blaming victims for their circumstances. Research shows that individuals with a high propensity for moral disengagement tend to have reduced empathy, a cynical outlook, and a weaker moral identity. These traits correlate with a higher likelihood of unethical behavior. To combat moral disengagement, individuals can become aware of justifications that arise in discussions and reflect on whether their actions are ethical. While individual characteristics influence ethical behavior, common cognitive biases and weaknesses impact how people make decisions, particularly in ethical contexts. Although rational decision-making processes are ideal, research shows that actual human decision-making often deviates from this ideal due to biases. Cognitive weaknesses stem from a desire to reduce uncertainty and simplify complex situations. Many business professionals prefer to believe they are in control, which can lead to overconfidence in their knowledge and decision-making abilities. For example, people may overlook critical facts or fall into the confirmation trap, where they seek information that supports their preferences while ignoring contradictory evidence. Additionally, individuals often simplify decisions by reducing the number of consequences they consider, particularly neglecting those affecting a small number of people, even if those consequences are severe. This self-interest can lead to a focus on immediate impacts on oneself rather than broader implications for others. People also tend to underestimate risks, driven by an illusion of optimism and a belief that they can control outcomes. This bias can result in ignoring significant risks associated with decisions. Moreover, past commitments can lead to escalation of commitment, where individuals continue investing in failing projects due to prior investments, rather than reassessing the situation objectively. To mitigate these biases, individuals should actively seek diverse perspectives, question their assumptions, and consider the potential consequences for all stakeholders. Recognizing these cognitive pitfalls is essential for making more ethical and informed decisions. Cognitive biases can significantly distort self-perception and influence ethical decision-making. Many individuals tend to view themselves as more ethical than they actually are, which can lead to poor choices. This illusion of superiority is evident in various professions, such as auditing, where personal relationships with clients may cause professionals to prioritize their own interests over the public good. To mitigate these biases, it's recommended that auditors avoid close ties with clients and regularly change assignments to maintain objectivity. Training should emphasize the potential negative consequences of unethical behavior for both their firms and the public. Common rationalizations that reveal bias include beliefs like, "The facts support our decision." While intuitive feelings can indicate ethical dilemmas, they should be balanced with careful analysis. Research shows that ethical judgments often arise from automatic and intuitive processes, which can sometimes yield better decisions than purely rational approaches. Combining gut feelings with informed reasoning is essential for effective ethical decision-making. Okay, in unconscious biases. There is the implicit association test, IAT. IAT is a tool that reveals unconscious biases, showing preferences for certain groups, such as valuing white individuals over black individuals, even among those who consciously reject such biases. The IAT measures reaction times when associating different racial groups with positive or negative words, indicating that many people find it easier to link negative terms with black faces and positive ones with white faces. This unconscious bias can influence behavior, leading to actions like rudeness or disparities in medical treatment based on race. Emotions also play a crucial role in ethical decision-making, often guiding actions more than rational thought. While traditional philosophy emphasizes rationality, emotional responses can alert individuals to ethical concerns and motivate altruistic behavior. For instance, visceral reactions to harm can prevent violence and promote empathy. Two classic ethical dilemmas illustrate how emotions affect decisions. In one scenario, people are more inclined to divert a train to save 5 lives at the expense of 1, but are less likely to push a stranger onto the tracks to achieve the same outcome. This difference is attributed to the emotional weight of the second scenario. Research indicates that emotions can lead to ethical actions, such as speaking out against unfair treatment, but they can also result in irrational responses driven by revenge. A case study involving General Motors and Volkswagen demonstrates how moral outrage led GM to pursue a lengthy and costly legal battle over perceived betrayal, ultimately resulting in minimal practical gain. The last slide we have is toward ethical action. The chapter examines ethical awareness and judgment, emphasizing their influence on ethical action. Individuals with higher ethical awareness are more likely to make ethical choices by considering the harm caused and recognizing potential ethical issues. Traits like cognitive moral development, an internal locus of control, and lower Machiavellianism are associated with ethical behavior. However, cognitive biases can hinder ethical decision-making. Individuals may struggle to act ethically due to factors like unethical bosses or organizational cultures. The case of Dennis Joyer, involved in the Ford Pinto recall decisions, illustrates how cognitive scripts, mental frameworks guiding actions, can lead to ethical oversights. These scripts allow for efficient decision-making, but can also cause individuals to overlook ethical dimensions, especially when conflicts arise between routine processes and moral considerations. Joyer's experience showed that when faced with alarming evidence, the script led to a decision not to recall the vehicle due to insufficient reports meeting their criteria. This reliance on quantitative cost-benefit analyses further stripped ethical considerations from the decision-making process. To address these challenges, the chapter suggests integrating ethical considerations into organizational scripts, emphasizing the need for ethical training and awareness. Encouraging decision-makers to analyze the ethical implications of their choices can help ensure that moral factors are considered alongside quantitative assessments, fostering a more ethically aware corporate culture.
Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe to channel.